Yeah.
You get gift baskets, get bathrobes, you get all sorts of really great things. You get invited to big parties. It was sort of like old Hollywood, you know?
I like the structure more now because I hate meeting anyone.
You do?
I want to
Oh,
meet
God.
you on set.
Give me the 90s any day.
Like, but when agents especially, like, hey man, when are we going to get some FaceTime? Like, what? For what? I want to work. You want me to work so you can get commission from me working. Us sitting down across a desk isn't going to expedite this process. Or maybe it is. In your experience, do you need to sit and talk with your agent face to face for things to go more smoothly?
Sometimes.
Really?
Well, yeah, I like them to come to the set and, you know.
Oh, I'm talking about
see
like when they want to
everything.
like go out, like, let's go get lunch, man.
Well, that I'm not so interested in. But I like
doing
them
a very
coming.
specific agent impression that she knows who it is.
I like them coming to visit. But no, I think those days were fun.
How did you meet Martin Scorsese? On Cape Fear?
No, Jesus. We
All right,
met.
Jesus.
This is such an old story, but we met. I was working for a publicist, and they needed to dub screams for Last Temptation of Christ. And his assistant at the time, Julia Judge, I'd given her my resume because I tried to get in the movie Last Temptation, and under special skills, it said blood curdling screams and milking a goat. And
Where did you learn to milk goats?
I grew up. We had goats growing up. So
Where?
In Massachusetts.
You're to me, you're just born and bred in Manhattan.
Really?
Yeah, you're just such a Manhattanite to me.
Oh, that's so
Upper East
funny.
Side Mobile.
Well, later on, because I went there so long. Anyway, I knew how to milk goats, and I remember I did a play where I got
Thank
murdered.
God you got... Oh, sorry, what?
No, I did a play, and I got murdered in the play. And the director told me I had a great scream. And so cut to, you're trying to put something on your resume to get noticed. And she called me. I was working for Peggy, and she said, do you really have a good scream? I was like, oh, yeah, it's great. So she said, can you come down to the dubbing room? And, we need to dub screams for Barbara Hershey in the scene where she's getting
She just wasn't a good screamer?
She's getting pelted with rocks, and they use these styrofoam rocks. And
I got to tell you, Last Temptation of Christ is one of the few Martin Scorsese hiring misfires. Like Barbara Hershey, to me, looks like she's in a Lifetime movie. Like Defoe is Christ, I'm in.
Yeah.
And everyone. Victor Argo, I'm in.
Yeah.
Keitel is Judas. That bird never really flew. He's always like, because he never was not Keitel. He's like, Jesus, how could you do this? You asked me to betray you. So I betrayed you with a kiss. There's no goddamn jobs in Bethlehem, is there? You're like, whoa, that's really Harvey Keitel in a wig. Like he looked like a Will Ferrell sketch.
Subsequent podcast will do the Marty years. But anyway, I was just happy to, I went down and did my...
How do you scream all day? Like when you do scream work?
It was crazy. I went in and I was like right out of acting school. And I met Marty and Thelma Schoonmaker was there. They were all in the dubbing room at the Brill Building, where we later shot Picture Perfect, the Brill Building, home of so many memorable moments in my life. But anyway, I was there. They said, okay, let's hear it. So
how many do you do when you do it?
I did my scream, and I said, here's what I'm going to do. And I did my scream, and they said, that's horrible. How do you do that? I said, I work for Peggy Siegel. It's pretty easy. They all laughed. And they said, okay, can you come tonight? And we're going to do it. And then I went tonight, and then it was like I actually had lines I had to say, run for your life. Jerusalem is on fire.
Run for your life.
The city is burning. I was like, I never even been in a movie. I was like totally panicked. And now I suddenly was like, okay.
These were all lines that, were they wild lines for just people in a mob deal, or they were Barbara Hershey's lines?
No, this was now for this other actress. I don't want to say her name, but like I had to do that in addition to doing the screams. So I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in the corner. I'm going to make myself cry. I don't think I was 22 at the time. I was so like a young idiot. But I was like, I'm going to go in the corner. I'm going to do 100 jumping jacks. I'm going to make myself cry. And then I'm going to go up to the microphone. And everyone went, okay. Like as if that was totally... because you're young, you're starting out, you're like, now you could do anything really
but when
simple.
But like the specific scream.
Yes.
Is that don't do it here because
I won't do it here.
This is a neighborhood where they'll come in with the guns drawn.
Yes.
And they'll just assume that I finally murdered the construction neighbors next door. Do you scream all day? Are you screaming? Do you just do one scream? They're like, yeah, that'll work.
It was screaming and crying and running.
That's when she's getting stoned, right?
Yeah, it was so much harder than I thought. But I did a certain technique. I kind of screamed, and I put my fist in my mouth and screamed. It was like this whole thing that I did. And when I finished, they all like, oh, they loved it. It was hard. It was
you do an hour? How long does this take?
I was there like an hour. And then...
And as the last scream, are you losing your voice, or do you know how to do it because you were trained so well through like acting schools that you can actually scream for an hour straight, and the last one is the same as the first?
I was probably losing my voice, but the adrenaline was so high
You're fired
of
up.
doing this. And then it was so weird because, again, they were like, well, thank you. And I didn't ask any questions or anything. I just left. And then the next day I got a call from same girl, Julia Judge, and she said, Marty really likes you. He wants you to come back and maybe do some more voices on the show. You won't get paid, but it'll be a great opportunity to work with him. So it became this thing that literally for 2 weeks,
You were like his personal Foley artist.
I came down.
We need to hear the sound of footsteps. If you could just do footsteps.
That's what he said. He goes, do you think you could do like a person in the crowd, like just yell out, but these are children's stories. How can they help us? And I was like, absolutely. He's like, do you think you could do like an old woman, like as if you're like a cripple? So I'm all over the movie. He's like, listen, we got one more thing. Can you do Jesus's mother? Just yell out, like, he goes, it's in the scene where he's holding the cross, and just be like, my son, like sound like an old woman. And I mean, of course, I was like young, and everything he said, I was like, absolutely, of course.
Well, yeah, I mean, we would all react that way now.
So
to anything he said, he's sort of the guy. He's really no one ahead of him in line as far as great directors.
Yeah. So, but at the time,
Glenn Gordon Caron.
Yes, second,
number 1A,
second only to
not
Marty.
even second, 1A,
second only to Marty, and Alexander Payne, maybe also awesome, but yeah. So through the process of doing this over this 2-week period, the whole thing. I owe Mel Brooks a huge debt because he was leaving outside, and then he goes, all right, well, I'm going to go wash up. I'll be right back. And I said, that's right. I'm going to go save France. You wash up. And Marty put his hand on the door. He turned around and he goes, Mel Brooks, 2,000-Year-Old Man? And I go, yeah, my favorite album. Listened to it all the time when I was growing up. And he was like, hold on a minute. And he just like turned around.
I fell in love that moment. I bet.
He sort of says, he's like, not only, he goes, she knows Mel Brooks, and I was because of that. And he goes, I'm on 2013-Year-Old Man. He goes, you can hear me laughing on the sequel.
Like, even at his level of success, I need you to give me a little credit.
Yes.
I don't know if you're familiar with my work. Yeah. But you can hear my laugh.
You can hear my
on
laugh
a Mel Brooks album.
On the 2013-Year-Old Man.
I know there's this whole Goodfellas and all this stuff. Oh, that wasn't yet. I don't know if you saw Mean Streets, but forget all that.
Yeah.
If you listen to a Mel Brooks album, you can hear me laugh.
Yes. So
it never ends.
So he brings in the album. He goes, that's me. He's like pointing out himself laughing.
And you got a Taxi Driver on a loop behind you going, so's this. You ever see what a 45 Magnum could do? That you should see. That you should see. He was really great. There was Search and Destroy was this weird independent movie
that I produced.
Yeah, John Turturro. John Turturro.
Yes.
And I forget who the other guy was, and everybody's great in it. And Marty plays an IRS agent.
Yes.
And Griffin Dunn.
Yes. Griffin.
And he just keeps going, Griffin? Yeah. I'm not being a jerk. I really don't know his first name.
Griffin Dunn.
Griffin Dunn.
Yeah.
And he's like, has no money. And Marty Scorsese is one of there's a couple directors that are perfect actors.
Yes.
And apologies to Clint, Marty is really at the top. And Quiz Show, he was so perfect.
Yeah.
And of course, the Taxi Driver. Don't turn the meter off. What do you do? I didn't tell you to turn the meter off. Turn the meter off. What are you doing? Did I tell you to turn the meter off? Don't turn the meter off. If I tell you to turn the meter off, then turn the meter off. But I didn't tell you to turn the meter off. See, but that's not my wife's apartment. and I can't finish the rest of the scene because
because it's dirty. But
in that Search and Destroy and Turturro, everyone was so funny in that movie. Walken, right?
Yeah.
And then he keeps saying to Griffin Dunn, okay, that's fine. But you owe... No, he doesn't say that's fine. Griffin Dunn goes, I got this coming in, I got that coming in, I got things happening. He goes, you owe the state of Florida $333.14.
Yes.
And Griffin Dunn just goes through his whole thing like, I understand that. And he goes, okay, you owe the state of Florida. He just plays an IRS agent.
Yeah, it was great. I said, you got to play this part. And this was a play. I had seen this play. Griffin Dunn was in the play. And it was like a one act. It didn't have a second act. And I thought it would make a great movie. And again, it was just an excuse for me to like work with people that I was obsessed with, like Chris Walken and John Turturro and Marty.
Tell me about it.
We went to Chris's apartment. They were like, you're never going to get Chris Walken to be in this movie. I was like, we will get Chris Walken in this movie. And we went to his apartment, and we just sat down, and we just like beat him down. He was like, I'm not going to play this part. It's a villain. It's not going to, And the more we...
Who's we? Who went in?
Me and the director, David Sally, and I believe the writer at the time was Michael Almereyda. Howard Corder had written the play.
And where is Chris's apartment?
On the Upper West Side.
The fans want to know this.
And on the Upper West
in one of the caves up in Columbus Park.
He's up on the Upper West
Side.
Side.
Hang upside down, it gets the brain flowing with blood.
Chris was, this movie, just very briefly, the movie was amazing on so many levels, but one of the great things about the movie was that it was so low budget that we had no cars, and we used to get picked up by a PA who had to pick up me first, then Chris Walken, then Griffin Dunn, and we would carpool out to New Jersey.
Yeah, Griffin, I'm tired of waiting for you. We were down here for 10 minutes while you send the kids off to school.
It was crazy. And sometimes...
It's a very good movie, and it's one of those movies that I'm surprised doesn't have... Like, I'm sure Angie's never heard of it. Search and Destroy. Like, there's a whole culture of people that pride themselves on knowing really cool, great indies.
Yes.
And this was, like, the one. This is the big one where, like, I was such a walk-in file that everybody would be like, did you see Search and Destroy?
Yeah.
And then I was pleasantly surprised that you were all over it, and then Marty Scorsese's all over it. I call him Marty.
Well, yeah, we were. It was a big hit. This was like, we've got some go-to jokes on Easy to Assemble, and one of them, what's it like to work with Robert De Niro? Why was Action canceled? And it was a big hit in France because, like, I had a string of like, it was not popular here, but Search and Destroy in France was a huge hit. So
you've really never been in this business for the cash. You really are like an artist.
Yes, that's true.
You are the guy, you are like just an old school hippie actress. Like, let's work with really cool people with these really neat words, and we'll carpool to set. Where I am going, I'll play Jeff Foxworthy's nephew with crazy and shout all my lines in a faux Southern. How much do I get paid? Oh, come on now, Jeff. That's just tomfoolery there. And meanwhile, you're shooting, Search and Destroy for $0. I'm getting paid out the wazoo to do nonsense, and you're doing like real serious act. You're getting raped by Robert De Niro. Did he fuck you like? And he bites your ear off.
Yes,
and spits it at you.
Yes,
in Cape Fear.
And I had
that was Picture Perfect.
Yeah, that scene got cut. The Search and Destroy was like, first of all, Dennis Hopper. You also forgot working with Dennis Hopper. These were people that were like, all I cared about was I wanted to be in a movie with John Turturro. I idolized, when I was going to acting school, I just idolized John Turturro.
Why doesn't he act more?
Maybe he's into writing, directing, or maybe it's hard to get work. I don't know. There's so many talents.
He's directing a play now on Broadway, right?
Yeah. But
he's one of my favorites.
He's amazing.
And he's a good impressionist. On Saturday Night Live, he did Walk-In with me. We did a walk-in sketch, and he came on my walk-in talk show as my brother Eugene Walken. And he does a pretty good walk-in. He does a great Nixon.
Yeah, he does a good Burt Lancaster.
Really?
Yeah. He actually does the best Marty of anybody. And we've done 2 movies together. On Grace of My Heart, he used to do Marty all the time. And he did a good, and he did Burt. We've got some funny outtakes from that movie. But Search and Destroy was like just trying to keep up with Walken because he would say something different every time.
Yeah.
And like we'd be doing Griffin Dunn and I would be doing some scene. We'd be trying to prepare. It was like we were in a I don't know, a chemical dump in New Jersey in the middle of the night.
That you just explained New Jersey though.
Yeah, sorry.
A chemical dump called New Jersey.
Called New Jersey? No, not at all.
It's my home state.
Not at all.
I could say it because I'm from there.
I'm not saying it. It's
So then
all
walking
Jay.
would just make you guys nuts?
No, we'd be crying. We'd be in the back of the scene, and there would be like, right, they're going to call action, and because he's done something terrible, he's killed someone.
Yeah.
And then, like,
You told me this, I think.
We'd be in the back seat, and like Griffin and I were sort of gearing up and starting to cry and everything.
Because you had just shot a cop, right?
Yeah.
There's a dead cop.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Chris would suddenly, like, he'd look in the rearview mirror, and he goes, did anyone see? I can't do the walking. He goes, did anyone
Fear?
No, Jesus. We
All right,
met.
Jesus.
This is such an old story, but we met. I was working for a publicist, and they needed to dub screams for Last Temptation of Christ. And his assistant at the time, Julia Judge, I'd given her my resume because I tried to get in the movie Last Temptation, and under special skills, it said blood curdling screams and milking a goat. And
Where did you learn to milk goats?
I grew up. We had goats growing up. So
Where?
In Massachusetts.
You're a to me, you're just born and bred in Manhattan.
Really?
Yeah, you're just such a Manhattanite to me.
Oh, that's so
Upper East
funny.
Side Mobile.
Well, later on, because I went there so long. Anyway, I knew how to milk goats, and I remember I did a play where I got
Thank
murdered.
God you got... Oh, sorry, what?
No, I did a play, and I got murdered in the play. And the director told me I had a great scream. And so cut to, I was, you're trying to put something on your resume to get noticed, and
It is. In your experience, do you need to sit and talk with your agent face to face for things to go more smoothly?
sometimes.
Really?
Well, yeah, I like them to come to the set and,
Oh, I'm talking about
See
like when they
everything.
want to like go out, like let's go get lunch, man.
Well, that I'm not so interested in. But I like
Doing
them
a very
coming.
specific agent impression that she knows who it is.
I like them coming to visit. But no, I think those days were fun.
How did you meet Martin Scorsese? On Cape.
And she called me. I was working for Peggy, and she said, "Do you really have a good scream?" I was like, "Oh yeah, it's great." So she said, "Can you come down to the dubbing room and?" We need to dub screams for Barbara Hershey in the scene where she's getting
She just
pelted.
wasn't a good screamer.
She's getting pelted with rocks, and they use these styrofoam rocks. And
I got to tell you, Last Temptation of Christ is one of the few Martin Scorsese hiring misfires. Like Barbara Hershey to me looks like she's in a Lifetime movie. Unless
Yeah.
yeah.
You get gift baskets, get bathrobes, you get all sorts of really great things. You get invited to big parties. It was sort of like old Hollywood,
I like the structure more now because I hate meeting anyone.
You do?
I want to
Oh,
meet
God.
you on set.
Give me the 90s any day.
Like, but when agents especially like, hey man, when are we going to get some FaceTime? Like, what? For what? I want to work. You want me to work so you can get commission from me working. Us sitting down across a desk isn't going to expedite this process. Or maybe